What's going on, everybody? Hope y'all are having a good one. I'm doing a shakedown run video today. Got a little Frankenstein chop shop parts bin kind of a project going on here. I don't even really know what to call it or introduce it as, because I think there's only two parts that actually belong to the same vehicle here, but for really no reason other than I had the parts laying around. I've still got a ways to go on it, but what I've got so far is my original four-wheel steer Capra cage and transmission. These are the Mias nylon portal axles that were on the Atlas most recently. And then I've got a Capra specific, I think it was actually Endura brand tow truck boom, which unfortunately I didn't realize when I got this. This thing is actually supposed to mount to where the lid for the receiver box goes. However, it's kind of hard to tell, but you can see the rear two holes do not at all line up with that particular receiver box, and it's the stock one. So I think I'm gonna have to come up with my own homemade situation here. I'll probably take this center section out of the back piece, because it bolts in two spots on each side there, and then I'll make me a little bracket that goes down, and it'll actually mount solid to the cage, because I imagine even with all four screws in that receiver box, they're tiny screws, there's a good bit of movement that's going to be happening there. And that's, if you're actually towing vehicles, that's an awful lot of stress on four tiny little screws that are not structural in nature. So yeah, and also that stinger is like, it sticks up a good 1.5 miles, I'd say. It just didn't quite look right to me. So I also took the stacks that I had on the Atlas and very crappily attached those. I may end up putting this boom in a vise and somewhere here, somewhere around here, bending that down a little bit, or make it less tall. It'll stick out a little bit further, because right now it doesn't stick out much past the wheels that are currently on here. No particular reason why I threw these wheels and tires on here either, other than we just got a bunch of rain yesterday and I thought there would be a lot more mud than what there is. Yeah, fleet favorite. Got a set of 90 mil Desert Lizards. Got a Hobby Wing Fusion SE. This one is the 1200 that was in the Atlas, which feels a little underwhelming in the power department, but since this does have the Capra transmission, it's still got a good bit of wheel speed, just not much oomph behind it. And then I've also got the is that a 45 kg servo that was already on this axle when it was on the Atlas. I do have brass diff covers. I had gotten a set of brass portal covers for the front, but they sent me the ones for the rear, and they don't work for the front on these axles. So yeah, I'm gonna have to wait and get the right ones, but definitely gonna want a little bit more weight up front, especially if we're towing. I do have a winch. It's gonna be a scale winch. This thing's not set up for a servo winch. So we'll have a big scale winch in the back of it. I've already got it spooled up with some synthetic line and a good hook, but I figured it wasn't worth mounting that thing and hooking it up until I actually get the whole boom mount itself hooked up. So I just threw a little DSM kinetic recovery rope on there, spider webbed it around. That little diagonal line that it's sitting at, for some reason, makes the boom seem less tall to me. I've got no real good explanation for it other than it looks more pleasing than it did without it. So this thing's not set up to be a rock crawler. Right now it's just set up for fall and winter time, blasting around in the mud and eventually some snow, and hopefully recovering some stuff. No real plans for what this thing's gonna do in the future other than whatever it does, but it's kind of cool, something different. We'll run it around here, see what it can do on these tires in some not so muddy conditions, and continue on with the project once we get some more parts in. So thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Later. it's time for another servo. Maybe get lucky in just a servo horn, but this thing's twitching pretty bad. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but that little jump right there did a number on it. So that's the end of today's run. There's potential in this thing, but I got a long ways to go. So, yep. Back to the garage. I will say one more thing. Just because as I'm carrying this thing out of the pit and back to the house because of a servo, I believe that this is the only rig that I've got in the fleet now, except for maybe the pulling truck, which I think even it's got one of the good ones. But I think this is, if not the only, it is one of two servos that I have that are not Three Brothers servos. I beat the ever-living snot out of those things on every type of rig that I've got. No issues. Period, dot, end of story. I've submerged them, they've been fully frozen, they've been out in the dead ass heat for hours and hours on end. Jumped, crawled, bound up, no problems. That was, granted, not a great landing, but not a very rough landing. And it's not like there's crazy hex spacers on this thing. Like, there shouldn't have been that much leverage on it. This thing does not weigh that much. That servo's not very old. I bought it for the Atlas when I put these axles on it. So, a month, 2 months old maybe. And it hasn't been run but just a few times. And, I mean, for budget Amazon servos, like, it wasn't a super cheap one. I definitely think I would have been better off with a blue case 35 kg, but you know, gotta branch out and try new things. So I thought, Three Brothers G13 Pro, cost a little bit more, but you get what you freaking pay for, that's for dang sure. So I just wanted to throw that 2 cents in there. This is some BS. That shouldn't have done that. So, yep. More parts. Until next time. Later.
Steep inclines challenge me. Camera rolls to catch the scene. DRC on your screen. Living dream.